We are the Fashion Daddies.
Well, hello, Fashion Daddy Nick.
Hello, Fashion Daddy David.
How are we today?
We're feeling spiffy, as you can tell. Wearing full-on double-breastedness in
the house.
In the house. In the studio. In the podcast studio.
All dressed up and nowhere to go.
Everybody else, when they do podcasts, it's just like, I'm just not even a care in terms of dressing. I mean, they're not fashion daddies, but it's like, I wish I could just, put on a t-shirt and shorts and what's his name we were watching? The husband of that actress?
Dax Shepard?
Dax Shepard, yeah, just looking like a bro. I can't. I passed my bro years. I should have taken advantage of my bro years.
You did.
Yeah, I think.
Have you seen what you wore on Project Runway?
Oh, that's true. I did take advantage of my bro years. Okay, these are my spiffy years.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. This is you now. The 2026 version of Nick Varios.
I even wear this when I garden.
Not quite. Not quite.
What are we discussing today?
Today's exciting.
Why?
Because we are going to combine two of my loves.
You mean figure skating and Real Housewives shows?
No.
Oh, no.
We are going to talk about musical theater and fashion.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, I did forget about the musical theater part.
Yes.
The fashion part is understood.
Yes.
Okay.
I was a musical theater major in
Theater.
college.
You have to pronounce it right.
Musical theater major.
Thank you.
So I'm well versed in the world of musical theater. So it was exciting. So Wicked, one wonderful concert.
It just happened. It just aired.
It did just air on Peacock.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
Yeah, it was. It actually was. And, we, of course, we love Wicked. We're not like super, super duper fans, like some people, but we love it. And in fact, it was really neat, if I could say neat, that we had a Wicked premise for one of the episodes, one of the challenges on Project Runway in this last season.
Yeah. So it makes us feel even closer to it because we talked about it a little bit on our Fashion Daddies Instagram Podgram. How we were able to set up the costumes for Wicked for Good. And they were so amazing. Beautiful, intricate.
And Paul Tazwell, the Oscar-winning costume designer for Wicked and Wicked for Good, he came by. He was in the studio and he acted kind of like a mentor, advising the designers.
Yes.
And we had met him before. Lovely man. And we reunited again. So it was neat. It was great.
Yeah.
But again, just like David said, those costumes are stupendous and just beautiful. And we had the glorious chance of seeing them in the boxed crates and being ooh ah, and then having them been taken out to show for the designers.
It was a concert that was mainly focused, of course, on Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo,
the stars, the primary stars of the movie.
Yes, and so it was focused in a very live setting, concert setting.
Right.
So they wore all sorts of fantastic garments.
Yeah, fantastic garment. Now, a little background on the actual show. It just aired on Peacock, but it was actually taped at the Dolby Studio on September 24th.
Okay.
And inside dish. Now, you could have Googled it too, but while most of the sequences were filmed just once, a lot of them were done twice. As we know, we work in production on Project Runway. Sometimes we film the runway sequence twice, just for good measure. I don't think I'm giving too much inside dish.
No.
It's for production, and so some of the numbers, including Defying Gravity and The Wizard and I, were done twice, just to make sure they had a clean version, as well as one of Daddy David's favorite super gay numbers, Happy Days Are Here Again, Get Happy. That was done twice, not for technical reasons, but because the stars asked to do it once more.
That's amazing.
Do you know how long the whole taping took? Can you guess? Guess.
I would say the whole thing took 4 hours.
Shut up!
I was right?
You were correct.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. 4 hours. You've been working in production.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that audience, well, they probably, you're usually told, when we invite people to the Project Runway finale show,
Yeah.
we're like, you better eat.
Yeah.
Because you're in for the long run.
Sit tight.
Yeah, you're not gonna get chips. So sit tight. And so I'm sure they knew, and they didn't care. They're wicked fans. So
Oh my gosh.
They're Uber fans.
Uber fans.
Yeah.
They probably would have sat there all night if they could.
And imagine having to see an encore
Yeah.
of Cynthia Erivo singing Defying Gravity.
I know.
Like not just once, but twice. So I'm sure they were like, oh.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay, let's get to the
So
fashion.
what I was saying is that not to top Paul Tazwell, but to go right along with his amazing abilities, there were the 2 stylists. One for Ariana Grande, which was La Roach,
The La Roach,
Project Runway,
Judge,
and the other for
Diva.
Cynthia Erivo was
Jason Bolden. And they both did a wonderful job.
So we're going to go through the looks that they wore because they were so amazing.
Yeah.
And La Roach was very much focused, and along with Ariana Grande, I'm sure, but I know he does this along with Zendaya, vintage.
Yes.
Loves vintage fashion. So all of her looks were vintage.
Yeah.
Not all of them,
No.
but a good handful of them.
Which I think is great. I mean, for so many reasons. You're upcycling, recycling, and also, I think more importantly, which I think this is part of their mindset of both La Roach and Ariana Grande, is paying homage to the real Old Hollywood.
Yeah.
When you say a lot of these things, they always say, oh, that's Old Hollywood Glamour, or it's very Old Hollywood, but it's not. We say it with our gowns, that are from now, but when you see some of these dresses, these designs that La Roche is picking with Ariana Grande, they are actually Old Hollywood Glamour.
So speaking of, the first one that Ariana Grande wore was, you have that one.
Oh, okay, I have it, and I have my notes.
She basically came down from the bubble, a form of the bubble.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, of course, we know of Glinda in the bubble and her bubble gown, but this time she came out in a Bob Mackie dress, which was from fall 1997. Not only was he a costume designer, he also did actual collections, fashion collections, and this is from fall 1997 collection. Now, he described the gown on the internets, on Instagram, as a white, strapless silk and multi-layered ball gown, but in fact, when you watch it on the screen, it looked champagne.
Yeah.
It had a champagne color, but it did feature gold crystal embroideries and jewels and beads. It was very beautiful, elaborate, strapless with a sweetheart neckline and a full kind of ball gown. And I believe it was actually T-length for the model who wore it. But of course, on little petite Ariana Grande, that means it goes to the floor, no matter how high them heels are.
Yeah.
And it actually came from Tab Vintage, which is a designer vintage studio in Los Angeles by appointment only. So that shows you how much they, especially La Roche's team and La Roche's shopping to find the right thing, the right couture out there in the world, and especially in Los Angeles.
Oh, I'm sure he has his tentacles everywhere.
Yes.
He knows everything. And Bob Mackie, of course, iconic. And we have loved Bob Mackie since the beginning because we're fashion daddy grandpas.
Just say we're old gays. Just say it. He doesn't want to say it. Like he thinks his mom will be embarrassed. Just say it. We're all say it. We're old gays, okay?
We are.
And, when you always see Bob Mackie, you think of the new dress. You think of a Kim Kardashian recycling one of his old, new dresses, or another singer, Miley Cyrus, the new dress. But I love that this was not that.
Yeah.
This was like a Grace Kelly Hollywood Glamour gown, but it wasn't the atypical Bob Mackie new dress.
Yeah, and I won't say that Bob Mackie's collections weren't embraced, but I don't think that they were the top of what people were looking at in fashion when he was doing those collections, those runway shows.
No.
He was there,
Yeah.
but he wasn't at the pinnacle. And so it's so nice to see all these dresses just getting all the applause and all the celebration that they should get.
Yeah, they're getting their moment, their bouquets. Because like you said, back in the day, it was probably thought of, if he did collections, it was more like, after 5.
Yes.
And sometimes a lot of people, they look down on that. We did it because we did after 5 gowns. And so sometimes like, oh, bless your heart.
Yeah. And you said 97, right?
Yeah, 1997.
So think of the 90s. It was minimalism. It was not the Bob Mackie, embellished era.
No.
So it's kind of great that it's coming back and having its renaissance.
All right, next.
Amazing. So then they did a song, What Is This Feeling? And Dear Old Shiz. And Ariana Grande, again, wore vintage. And she wore Alexander McQueen from fall 2025.
Oh, was it the silver or gold? What was it?
It was silver.
Yeah.
And it was all pleated. It was, again, that almost 50s shape where it was nipped in at the waist.
Yeah.
Had a full skirt, like silver lame pleated.
Yeah.
So many people think of Alexander McQueen as almost not avant-garde, but he certainly was edgy. He had an edge to him.
He had an edge. And you also, when you think of McQueen, you think of more structure.
Yes.
And yes, they're definitely playing with punkism. I mean, the bumpster.
Right.
I mean, hello. But this was, again, Hollywood glamour.
Hollywood glamour, and it's not what you would particularly have expected from Alexander McQueen, but that's what's so amazing about La Roach, is he finds these pieces. He's always said he doesn't follow trends.
Right.
He picks what's right, and this was just right for this little sequence. And then along with that, Cynthia Erivo wore a Vivienne Westwood navy suit that was also nipped in at the waist, but had these very full, wide leg pants and the beautiful little brooches on her chest. And it was just the perfect contrast, what you would want without doing the pink and the green.
Right.
So it was silver and black.
Yeah.
And so you're sort of seeing this evolution, which they talk about not only in the film. Paul Tazwell will show an evolution of their costumes, but La Roach is very conscious of that and doing that along with the styling.
Yeah. The navy blue did look kind of black. It was like a midnight blue for sure. And I did like that. And then when the lights hit it, you almost saw a sheen of deep velvety green in the color.
Yeah.
And so, there was the glint of the shiny Galinda dresses, and then that sort of that other glint, the darker glint that you would see in Alphaba.
Very nice. Okay. What's next on yours?
So next it's Ariana Grande. Back to Ariana, and this is when she was on stage with a little fan. Oh my God, it was so cute, and they were both in the beds, and she was singing "Popular." I want to be popular. Is that what she says?
That's it.
Okay. She was singing to Popular, and she wore a very frothy, confectionery, I think it would be described, pink dress, and it was from a brand called Tanner Fletcher, which, if you haven't heard of them, from New York, 2 designers, Tanner Ritchie and Fletcher Castle, and it was just very lovely, and also it had an almost antique vintage feel, like you would find it at a flea market in Seattle. And I think that's kind of their vibe of this brand. It had off-white ruffles that looked like, the trim that you take off of a wedding gown from 1956, and they were right here at the bust, and then it had a kind of brocadey textured midriff fitted with a pointed direction at the torso, and then just tiers of this pink sheer satin, like organza. And then the hem was binding with satin binding. I thought it was just so feminine and so cute.
Yeah.
And it was just cute.
Yeah. I had never heard of that brand before this.
Yeah. Neither had I.
And I will confess that I was looking at some of the pictures before we actually watched the concert, just to get prepared and do some research, which was good, because then when we watched it, we kind of knew what was coming.
We did watch the concert.
We did. Oh, it was amazing. So if you are in any way interested in musical theater, I suggest watching this.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Totally.
But I also like that had sort of almost a lingerie bedtime, because they perform on beds.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So at first when I saw the picture, I was like, I don't know if I love this one. It's fine. I just didn't.
When you saw like the runway picture, you mean?
No,
or
when I
in the picture?
saw her in the picture.
Yeah.
I was looking at the pictures before I watched. And
you got to go look at the runway though, because it first of all, the model is carrying a lamp and she's got just, kind of messy hair, very Brooklyn girl.
Yeah.
Like she's going to, like, this is what she would wear at her like best friend's wedding in Greenpoint, right? And she bought it for $22.
And that's the label, right?
That's their vibe.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. No, so it was great. It worked.
Yeah.
Fit perfectly.
All right. You're up.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going in order, but what I have next.
Who cares?
Is, Nick.
What?
This was one of my favorites.
So
it was For Good, and they shot it in New York on the Gershwin stage.
I mean, he's gonna drop a lot of musical theater bombs right now, so you're gonna have to like lift yourself up the floor from picking up your playbill.
So Stephen Schwartz was playing. He's the composer. They're playing the piano, and it was the song For Good with Ariana and Cynthia, and then in comes Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, who everybody knows were the original
OGs,
the originals, Glinda and Elphaba in the Broadway production. So to have all four of them sing, it was one of those. And you saw, this was shot without the audience,
right?
But if the audience was there, because the audience was so fun to watch.
Yeah, they were.
They were just like
they didn't need much to like just bawl. But speaking of bawling, can I tell our viewers, listeners, that after they sang, all four of them, I turned to Daddy David, and he had a tear in his eye. He was doing this. I was like, girl. It was cute.
It was good.
I know.
Okay, so this was one of my favorites that Ariana Grande wore, and it was another label that I hadn't really heard of, and it was Sophie Couture. And so Sophie Couture is a couture label founded by
Gunel Babayeva, and she's an Azerbaijani fashion designer, and it's based out of Dubai.
Okay.
Yes.
And it was described.
Why do you give me the international
because you're
phraseology?
You're better at it. Okay. So in Vogue, they described it as this. Swirling sculptural pink gown. It was described as blush perfection in motion. Layers of pleated tulle cascade into sculptural waves, blending modern minimalism with timeless couture artistry.
Sounds like a press statement.
It's called the Pink Jellyfish.
It did look like a jellyfish,
Yes, and it retails for $4,000.
$4,000.
And on the runway, there's a gorgeous, it looks like a lookbook photo. And it's a gorgeous photo. And it has a hoop skirt underneath. So it really shows that it can be quite a full gown. But smartly again, for Ariana, because of her petite size, they removed the hoop skirt and they just let it fall. And to me, it almost gave even more of a jellyfish sort of oceanic vibe that it could kind of swirl around her. It was perfect.
So perfect.
And then to counterbalance, of course, Cynthia Erivo wore a black velvet mugler. Okay, and it was like a corset jacket. So it was a jacket, but it was very tight, had a corset bodice.
I think it hooked in the front.
It zipped up.
Oh, it zipped up.
I'm pretty sure it zipped up the front. And then it looked like a gown because it was black velvet from afar.
Yeah.
But it was really 2 pieces, and it was a straight velvet skirt with a side slit. And so it was perfect. She's so tiny and just straight, and it was just a perfect silhouette.
Right.
And then in came the 2 divas, Adina and Kristen, and I do not know what they're wearing. I'm sorry, but they did wear white. So Kristen wore this beautiful strapless white gown with white big buttons
I know.
or crystals or something.
And I loved how sculptural the top of the bodice was. It curved up. It was a great, bustier silhouette.
And Adina wore a white beaded tuxedo with black lapels. So perfect. Again, Kristen being Glinda and Adina being Elphaba. It worked perfectly. It was my favorite, one of my favorites.
I know. I could tell by the tear in your eye.
Okay, what's next?
All right, next, Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
And she wore this brand. It's called Kate, but it's spelled K-H-A-I-T-E, which in fact means long hair in Greek. It's from spring 2026, and it's a strapless dress, a wool silk midi dress. And I loved it because it featured kind of unusual draping. It looked like it was picked up here and then picked up here. But when you kind of look at it, I think the original dress was just a straight sheath dress.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, the designer, the draper, whoever went up and like, no, we're going to tack it here, we're going to tack it there. And it just created this very unusual, forward-looking shape to what normally you would just consider, kind of a traditional cocktail dress. And then the top featured these great panels that were pleated, and they had organza, and they had raw edge. So you saw some of the thread coming out. So I love that. It looked modern, but again, it fit her perfectly.
All they did was announce in these, so they did this great costume change to announce that there's going to be 2 new songs in Wicked. And so Cynthia was wearing Danielle Frankel, and she's a bridal designer again
from New York.
Yes, and she honed her craft, of course, at the diva Vera Wang, and of course her price range is $6,000 to $10,000. Which actually for a wedding dress isn't very much.
When you said 4,000 for that jellyfish dress, I was like, that's low. I would think 14,000, if not 24,000. So 4,000 for that gown.
I know.
That's sorry.
It was a white pleated bustier top, strapless. But it came and it sort of exploded up here around the top.
Because it was kind of fortuny pleated, very mini pleated. So it's sort of, like you said, it exploded at the top, and it really almost covered half of Cynthia's face. So it really framed her unusually.
And then, again, a straight black skirt. But that was all pleated, and not just straight up fortuny like pleating, but it went around the body. I would have to really see it in person to see.
She's famous, this designer is famous for this treatment and this kind of look. So it's a Danielle Frankel look. When it has this kind of this texture, this detail.
Anyway, they were great. Just to announce 2 songs.
That's all they did. Again, inside dish, they kept announcing through the whole, the audience is sitting there for 4 hours, and they kept saying, "Oh, you're gonna see a preview. You're gonna see a preview of these new songs," and they never got to hear it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So what happened? What had happened was I had spies who went to the actual event, and what had happened was they announced it, and then they didn't show it to the audience.
Wow.
And so they just kind of sat. They're like, okay, but that happens.
Yeah.
Production.
When we were doing Project Runway, they showed the trailer.
Oh yeah.
But we all went to a very private room. It was basically like, prick your finger, put your blood on a piece of paper. Not really.
No.
Sign a contract.
No, it was like The Diplomat.
Yeah. Okay. What's next?
All right. Next is one of my favorites, and again, it's Ariana Grande, and this is when she sang with Cynthia Erivo, right? One of your favorite numbers.
Yes.
Come on, get happy, and happy times, happy days are here again.
Happy days are here again.
Thank you.
So, many of you might know, but this was a duet sung by Barbra Streisand and Judy Garland on the Judy Garland Show. Very famous.
And if you are gay and do not know this, you might want to give us your gay membership card back.
Or at least just go to YouTube and watch it.
Okay.
Because it's amazing.
Yes.
So, in honor of
Iconic.
Yes, they recreated this moment. They sat on stools and
just like
they did.
They did.
And were embracing each other just like Judy and Barbara did on the show. So it was amazing. They sounded amazing.
Yeah, they did.
But what did they wear?
Okay, well, Ariana Grande, I will tell you, she wore Gilbert Adrian, who is one of the most famous costume designers of the actual Hollywood glamour era. And this was a 1940s gown. It was a black gown with a caped back. Adrian, as he went by, was very famous for costuming a lot of every, Hollywood movie that you know of, it was done by Adrian.
And
yeah.
It was The Wizard of Oz.
Yes! He also costumed the classic 1939 movie, The Wizard of Oz. I mean, there are so many Easter eggs, I guess you would say, in this, but very, very, a lot of homage. So the gown had a fitted midriff. You could barely see it, really, and a floaty capelet, which is very 1940s. And what I also loved, these delicate kind of, I think they were gold rhinestones, that were sparingly placed throughout the dress. And they just, all of a sudden, you just saw a little hint of glitter. It was very elegant, minimal, but again, the capelet, the whole silhouette of the dress, even though I don't think she stood up, so you could see it, it was just very Hollywood. Again, it was Gilbert Adrian, and by the way, it only took me about a minute to find this inside. I'm just giving you a lot of inside dish. Okay, are you guys ready? So all I did was Google Gilbert Adrian black dress with cape, and up came First Dibs, which is a designer vintage online boutique, and the dress came up, her dress that she wore, and it said it was sold for $15,000.
Wow.
So that's all I know. So we might, if next time we see Monsieur La Roche, we might have to ask if he had the budget to, or Miss Grande's team had the budget to buy this vintage Hollywood icon's designer dress for $15,000. But that's what I found. I mean, there can't be many.
No.
So I think that somebody done bought it, and the next thing we know, Ariana done wore it.
Yeah, and my bet is that he did purchase it.
Okay.
Because he has said in other interviews that both Zendaya and Celine Dion, who he is also a stylist for, are very much into vintage and purchasing what they wear.
Okay.
So I think it's just not only great that they do that, but who wouldn't want an Adrian gown in your archive? Not that she needs to invest. I mean, I'm sure she has plenty of money, but it's a great investment. And I wonder
if it's an investment, not to cut you off, but an investment for Law. Law bought it for himself.
Maybe.
For his archive garage.
Maybe.
Because it was so important,
right?
And again, the fact that this was the actual costume designer for the Wizard of Oz, I don't think there were any ifs, ands, or buts about her having to wear this dress, for this show, which then Judy Garland, how many years ago, sang this song? I can't. It's so many full circles in there. So
that's what he's so great at.
He got his platinum Amex out.
Yes. Okay. Well, then sitting alongside Ariana in that Adrian gown was Cynthia, who wore a modern Marnie gown. Marnie is a modern label,
brand, yes.
but from the fall 2025 collection.
Yeah.
This was such an interesting gown.
Yeah.
Because it was very modern, again, to say the word. And it was silver, like a silver satin, a high neck with long sleeves, but then it had panels of black and yellow, and then this feathery cuff.
Yeah.
It was long sleeve, so high neck, long sleeve, and this long over-the-shoulder drape.
Yeah. It was like a tie. I think it wrapped around her neck, and then she just put it to the end. To me, it looked like a 1930s bias cut dress.
Yes.
Like I could see Claudette Colbert or one of those actresses slither down the stairs in black and white wearing this dress. But what made it modern is all the different fabrics that were included. It wasn't just this gunmetal satin that you would see in a 1930s gown, but then there was other stuff. The yellow looked like a twill.
Yeah.
And it was pleated. And I believe must have been velvet or something else. I mean, that to me is what made it modern. But when you looked at the silhouette, I'm sorry, but it looked like straight out of a 1930s film.
Yeah. And there is a picture of them walking away. So you did get to see more of it, but they were sitting the whole time. So sadly, you didn't get to see the full thing, but gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous dress. Gorgeous dress.
What's next?
Okay, she wore this, well, I call it the Emerald City gown, and I think the designer called it that as well. And it's green and pink. So it's this gown, and it was by Indian designer Rahul Mishra. And it was custom made. And it was a collaboration between the designer, Ariana Grande, and of course, La Roach and his team. And the whole, if you look at this dress, first of all, there's a bustier, and it's all hand beaded, jeweled in emerald green. And it looked like the emerald green, the Emerald City.
Yeah.
It had the silhouette of the skyscrapers and everything. It was just stunning. It was a work of art. And then after that, it was attached to this full gathered bubble skirt that also had sequins, and that was in pink. All the handwork in this couture gown, featuring thousands of emerald sequins, glass beads, and metallic thread. I can't even speak. I am telling you. It says each glimmering surface transforms fabric into architecture, weaving together the luminous geometry of imagination. You know, I can't write these kind of things.
Yes,
I'm telling you. I just think it was a work of couture art.
And again, she only wore this to present.
Yeah.
She didn't even sing in it, but it got its moment, and it was beautiful. But a lot of work to stand there for just a couple minutes.
If La Roach allegedly paid $15,000 to First Dibs to get that Gilbert Adrian, I wonder how much he paid Rahul Mishra to create this work of art, all that handwork, for just that moment.
Yeah.
She's just standing there and she's like, "Hey, y'all."
Well, I would assume usually they don't get paid experience.
You know what? Another podcast.
You do it for publicity. We'll see. I'm sure he was thrilled.
That's a whole other podcast.
Okay, I got Ariana Grande again.
Okay.
When she sang "Thank Goodness," which was just beautiful in one of the most beautiful. I mean, when La Roach posted about him himself, saying this was one of the most gorgeous gowns, you know it was. It was Robert Woon, who is an amazing couture designer. I mean, the looks are insane. Yeah. And this is a sugary pink tea-length gown with a sweeping ball gown skirt adorned with butterflies. So it was strapless, a full skirt. Yeah. The most perfect light color of pink, and then just butterfly sprinkled everywhere. And even she had two big butterfly earrings that matched the ones that were on the dress. So it was just so pretty.
On her gloves. I mean, this was, I think, the dress that everybody was talking about when the show happened, and this gown, because it was such a confection. And what I also loved about is the technical mastery of it all, because if you look at the gown, there are all these panels, and they come to a point like a godets. So they were godets placed in there to create this full shape. It wasn't just what you would typically do as a pattern maker or a draper to create this full ball gown shape. So I love that. I always say, please don't give me page 464 from the pattern book. Like, think out of the box, you know?
Yeah.
And so you could see that in the gown. And the fabric. The fabric was double layered wool. Crepe, like a silk wool, I believe. So it was like double layered. You could see it. It's something that you'd normally see on a camel wool coat. But it was turned into a gown.
It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous.
Okay, next.
All right. So this is Cynthia Erivo. And so we went from pink and pretty to now gothic. And she sang to I'm Not That Girl. And she wore this stunning McQueen Fall 2025. So this isn't vintage. This isn't the OG Alexander McQueen, but it's Fall 2025 McQueen. It was a coat dress, and it had these medieval gothic lines and a stacked heavy coat. And it was all adorned. When you looked at the front, it was trimmed with these golden leaves.
Yeah.
And it split open. So it was like this frock coat. It was this long Edwardian Gothic frock coat. Yeah, it was just a moment. It was stunning. And again, it was so her. Jason Bolden knows what Cynthia looks good in or what she wants. Obviously, I think they make a great pair, a great team to work in. It was just perfect for her. You know?
Because there's always sort of a classic element, but then with an edge, always.
Right.
So they take the two and combine them.
Right.
And she was singing a solo, center of the stage with a mic, and you just couldn't stop staring at the coat. I mean, of course, you were listening to the amazing voice of Cynthia Erivo, but I was also just staring at some of the details on that coat and the way the collar rolls. And it was beautiful.
No, it was beautiful, and being the fact that she's British and she's wearing a British brand, an iconic British house, a fashion house, but then an iconic British fashion house known to turn iconic British tropes and give it a twist. And so to me, again, it's like does look like some old painting that you would see at a museum in London, but ... So I loved it.
Yes. Okay, and so then we have Cynthia Erivo again.
Ooh.
The big number.
Oh.
The big number of the night, Defying Gravity. So she was, again, wearing something that at first seemed traditional.
Right.
It was a black velvet gown, and it was by Alex Perry. But then when you looked at it, it had these greenish feathers. Basically, would you say along the collar of the jacket?
Yeah, it looked like they were coming from underneath.
Yeah.
It almost looked like, I don't know this, but it looked like the jacket or the coat had princess seams and they were sewn into the princess seams, so they jutted out.
Yeah. And then she had a feather neck piece, so very high neck with feathers here too, so that was beautiful. She started, of course, on the stage, in the center of the stage. She walked from side to side. The skirt was, again, very narrow.
Yes, it was.
And I was just like, okay. And she was sort of
It looked great for the stage, right?
And she was walking, and then all of a sudden, she just lifts into the sky.
She done just props herself up.
And she just starts flying over the audience. And you're just like, wow.
Imagine seeing that twice, you guys. She did that twice.
I know.
I
They were
mean,
lucky.
They were so lucky.
But we get to watch it, as many times as we want on Peacock.
Yeah.
And you can too. We are not being promoted by Peacock, even though it sounds like
You
we
would
are.
think.
We would like to be.
Yeah.
But we loved it.
I
We just wanted to talk
know.
about it because why not mix fashion and musical theater?
Yeah, and we loved it. There was a lot of couture, a lot of fashion. So next time, maybe we're gonna have to talk to Peacock to give us some money, honey,
Or Disney.
or Disney. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we talked a lot about fashion, and of course, what do we have, Nick? to help anybody wanting to learn fashion?
Oh, well, we have our new book, The Basics of Pattern Making for Fashion Design. Speaking of pattern making, I was talking about princess seams and pattern making and learning how to do those godets and the like. I didn't mean to include that in, but yes, this is where you learn the fundamentals, the basics, and learn it in a way that you can understand. It is like 1, 2, 3, not like 18.6 plus 16. Like trust me, I did this book. We did this book so the Nick and Nikitas of the future could understand and think of pattern making as their friend and confidant for creating fashion.
All right, so that's it. So next up, we're gonna do another iStyle. So look out for that.
Oh yes, we're getting on a plane, a virtual plane, business class. Yay, my favorite.
Heading to Japan.
No.
Yeah.
We are. We're heading to Japan. We're going to Tokyo? Oh my God. Where did we find the $15,000 for that first class seat to Japan?
We clicked our heels 3 times.
Oh,
like
look
Dorothy.
at you.
Oh, full circle.
Osaka, here we go. Here we come.
See you then. Bye.
The Fashion Daddies is created and hosted by David Paul and Nick Varios. It's produced, edited, sound mixed, and scenic designed by David Paul. I'm just here to entertain.